Greetings and welcome to week 10 of COMM 110. We are now past the halfway point of our semester, and of course, last week you submitted your first major speech, the informative speech. I will be working on grading the informative speeches, and we'll have those grades back to you next week so that you have them in time before you do your visual aid speech, so that you get the feedback on your informative speeches before you are in the final preparations for your visual aid speeches, so that you are able to make some adjustments to your delivery, make some adjustments or some corrections to your preparation work, and so forth. And so one of the main things that we have this week is the guidelines for the visual aid speech, the second of your three major speeches for the semester. You're going to find, as you probably already are, or have just realized, that the pace is going to quicken quite a bit here in the second half of the semester with these major speeches. We spent the entire first half of the semester learning about the process of creating speeches in all of the different aspects that we've been examining. And only at the middle of the semester do we get to the first major speech. Well, now in the second half of the semester, we will do the remaining two major speeches. The next one, the visual aid speech, coming in just a couple of weeks' time. And you'll find when you look at the guidelines, which are on this week's homepage, that the visual aid speech is in many respects very similar to the informative speech in terms of the guidelines, in terms of the research requirements, in terms of the annotated works cited, and in terms of the sorts of things that you're going to be talking about. The difference, of course, is that you will be using visual aids this time. You were not allowed to use visual aids at all in the informative speech. You were forbidden from using them. In the visual aid speech, of course, you have to use the visual aids. And so we're going to be reading in chapter 13 this week about different types of visual aids. And of course, you already have a good idea of what sorts of things people use as visual aids in public speaking performances. One thing that a lot of people in the online version of this class tend to do or tend to favor in terms of visual aids is using actual objects, because you are often, often if not usually, performing these speeches in your own home, where you have all of your belongings and everything available to you. It seems like more people tend to use actual objects that they have at hand than in a face-to-face on-campus class. So many people do use objects, and you are welcome to as well. PowerPoint or a PowerPoint style slide presentation created on the computer and displayed using a computer and projector is another common form of visual aid. Now, as you'll read in the assignment guidelines, it's outside of the scope of this class for you to learn as part of the coursework how to use PowerPoint and how to do what you need to do technically in terms of operating the actual software. Many of you might already know how to do that. Some of you may need to, if you want to use it, sort of get up to speed on that, but the technical aspects or training in learning how to use PowerPoint is outside the scope of our coursework and is outside the scope of anything that I'm going to be teaching you or talking to you about. Now, there are a few things in Chapter 13 related to the design of PowerPoint slides. And I will be happy to answer basic questions or, relatively simple questions about PowerPoint. But the complexities of learning that software, if you need to do it, are something that you're going to need to do on your own in addition to the coursework that we're doing here over the next couple of weeks. This week we are going to be looking at chapter 13, just the one chapter, and as the pace quickens in terms of the major speeches, um, the preparation and then delivery for the last two major speeches, as that pace quickens, the workload that you're going to have in terms of the chapters from the Jaffe text and the associated work with that is going to lighten a little bit. There aren't any more weeks the entire semester where we have two chapters in just 1 week. Every week where we have a Jaffe chapter, it's just going to be one chapter because you're going to be working a lot more on the major speeches at a quicker pace outside of class. So we have just the one chapter this week, chapter 13 on visual aids. You'll have the reading quiz with that, as well as the discussion forum. We have two topics in the discussion forum this week. One of them is sort of retrospective, in which you'll talk a little bit about how you think your delivery of your informative speech last week went. And then the second topic is related to the topic of visual aids and sort of getting you to talk about what sorts of visual aids you're considering using in your second major speech, the visual aid speech. The one other thing that we have coming up due this week is the second of your speaker critique papers. Remember, you'll be doing a total of 4 of those by the end of the semester. And the first one you did a few weeks back. And the second one is going to be due on this coming Sunday night, the very last night of the course plan for this week. Now, the guidelines are exactly the same. All 4 of the speaker critiques are exactly the same in terms of the guidelines. And I've provided another link to those guidelines if you need to look at them again. And so you should follow those. Try to do a different type of speaker. If you did an instructor giving a lecture for the first one, do a pastor giving a sermon or an actual, public speaking performance for the next one. Everybody does have the option to do one of your 4 speaker critiques as the video option, meaning that you can do a speech that is on television, or you can do one that you find on YouTube or somewhere else online. Any of those, do the video option. Of course, whatever speech that you do a critique of, it does have to meet the criteria for being considered a public speaking performance. There are a lot of things that you can find on YouTube, a lot of things that you can see on TV that certainly do not qualify as public speaking performances. So make sure that if you do the video option, and you don't have to do one of your critiques as a video speech if you don't want to, but if you do, make sure that the performance that you're looking at is an actual public speaking performance. And so that is an option for some of you if you want for speaker critique number 2, if you didn't already use it in speaker critique number 1. Before the end of this week, I will have the grades for speaker critique number 1 back to you so that you can get some feedback on that first speaker critique and incorporate suggestions for improvement that I may have as you finish up the second speaker critique this week. And so I look forward to finding out about what sorts of visual aids you're considering, as well as getting those second speaker critiques this week.